job here is to read this story to you. My grandfather read this at camp. I read it last year. Who here knows the story of Cinderella and the Sisty uglers? This is the story of Cinderella, with thanks to Philo Rockwell King III and Richard R. Francis. This is a story that will make your creche fleet. It's a story that will make your creche flip. It's a story that will give you poo skimples. It's a story for fee bulk and wigger toople peep. That's wee folk and bigger people too. It's the story of Cinderella, who lived in a hig-barked house with her mean old mepstother and her two sisty uglers. And they made Cinderella do all the wordy-dirt, while they sat around cheating auklets, that's chalking eaglets, and nagging reedazines. One day, Cinderella was in the kitchen flopping the more, when the two sisty uglers came in and said, "Guess what? The Pransome Hints is throwing a fancy breast doll. And we're both invited, but you can't go." So Cinderella went back to the kitchen with ears in her ties. She was just about to chickasee a frickin' when suddenly there was a blinding blash of flight, and who should be standing before her but a feudable berry. "And who are you? And what do you want?" asked Cinderella. And the feudable berry said, "Well, I'm your merry fodgother. And I've come to want you a grish." "Well," Cinderella said, "all I want is to bow to the gall." Said the feudable berry. "That's a wuff tish." But then she said, "Okay," and she maved her wagic mond, and suddenly Cinderella was transformed into a babishing broody. She had on a long gatton sound, a necklace of poobies and rurls, and on her feet were two tiny sass slippers. And the feudable berry said, "Now, you may bow to the gall, but you must be mown by midnight." Cinderella said, "Okay," and she was off. So that night, she cast to the camel. That's came to the castle. And the first poo teeple she saw were the two sisty uglers. But she was so beautiful, they didn't even Cinderize Recognella. So they introduced her to the Pransome Hints, and he said, "May I dab this Hance? You're boobsalutely aptiful. You're even lovelier than beeping Slooty." And when he was just about to ask for her mare and handage, suddenly the straught clouded to trike swell, and Cinderella banned from the raw. But as she did, one of the tiny sass slippers flipped from her soot. So the Pransome Hints picked up the sass flipper and said, "If I can find the woman whose soot this flipper sits, I'll know with whom I'm in love." So that morning, he went from house to house, and that one you can't turn around. And when he came to the sin where House Dorella lived, he docked in the north, and who should answer the door but the two sisty uglers. And he said, "I'm looking for the woman whose soot this flipper sits." But well, of course, their beat were too fig. But then it was Cinderella's turn, and guess what? The flipper pitted perfectly, and they happed lividly ever after, and that's the end of the story of Cinderella.